The Indian judiciary has been rocked by a possible corruption scandal, an issue that's long been discussed but also long been ignored. A judge in the Delhi High Court finds himself in the center of this debate. Justice Yashwant Varma is no longer with the Delhi High Court but has been transferred to the Allahabad High Court. Why? Because piles of burnt cash were found at his residence. So what happens if a judge in India is accused of corruption or misconduct? Can they be investigated like other public officials? Well, it's complicated, but not impossible. In the case of a sitting judge, there can be no police probe or any agency investigation. A sitting judge can only be probed via an in-house procedure. So what exactly does that look like? Well, the in-house inquiry process is a mechanism set up by the judiciary to deal with complaints against sitting judges of the Supreme Court or High Courts. It's not a law, but a self-regulatory system created by the Supreme Court in the late 1990s to deal with allegations of misconduct without compromising judicial independence. Before this process, there was really no formal way to handle complaints unless they were serious enough for impeachment in Parliament. But impeachment, again, is a long, of course, political process, and not every complaint warrants that. So in 1997, the Supreme Court, in consultation with senior judges, introduced an internal mechanism, the in-house procedure. So the process of inquiry against a judge goes like this. The CJI-led collegium recommends transfer of the said judge. The collegium then seeks a report from the Chief Justice of the respective court. In this case, for example, it was the Delhi High Court Chief Justice. And then an in-house inquiry will be set up by the collegium if the need arises after the report is submitted. The accused judge is also given a chance to put forward his or her version of events. Their response is sought. Now, if the CJI feels there's misconduct or something's off, the judge can be asked to resign. But if the judge refuses to step down, this Chief Justice of India then moves to the government, asks the government to initiate removal process in Parliament. So the judge can be impeached by a motion passed in Parliament for which you need political consensus. The actual term isn't impeachment, but the process pretty much is that the judge is impeached. However, this current process, as I've just described to you, is quite challenging, and here's why. First, the only recourse to deal with an errant judge is impeachment via Parliament, which is a long-drawn process, as I just showed you. There's also the question of when something like this can happen, only on two instances: proven misbehavior or incapacity. These are the only two grounds for removal of judges. The third is, of course, the fact that the standard for impeachment is right up there. It's high due to political consensus being needed. If you need it to be passed in Parliament, you need all political parties on board. So it's difficult to really push for impeachment. So let's explain to you on whether a sitting judge in the judiciary can actually be removed from office. Well, to maintain the independence of the judiciary, the Constitution under Articles 121 and 211 bars Parliament, bars state legislatures from discussing the conduct of judges. Parliament can, however, consider a motion to impeach a judge according to the procedure laid down in the Judges Inquiry Act of 1968. Judges can also be removed from office through in-house guidelines adopted by the Supreme Court, which I spoke of, but these are for complaints received by the President, Chief Justice of a High Court, or the Chief Justice of India. The process is based on the 1991 K. Veeraswamy judgment, where the Supreme Court said that the judiciary came under the purview of the Prevention of Corruption Act, but to investigate a sitting judge, prior sanction from the CJI was mandatory. So how does Parliament actually deal with this entire impeachment? So let's first explain to you what an impeachment motion is. It can be moved with the backing of 100 Lok Sabha MPs or 50 Rajya Sabha MPs. If admitted, the allegations are investigated by a 3-member judicial committee. If the committee finds merit in the allegations, both houses of Parliament have to pass the motion for the impeachment of the judge by a special majority. Essentially, special majority means the majority of the 2/3 of the members present and voting, which should not be less than half of the total strength of the House. So that many need to be present, and then 2/3 of that strength is the voting number required. So has this ever happened before? Has any judge actually been impeached by Parliament? No judge, interestingly, has ever been impeached. Supreme Court Judge Justice V. Ramaswamy faced impeachment proceedings in 1993, but the motion failed in the Lok Sabha. Then you had Calcutta High Court Judge Soumitra Sen, who resigned in 2011 after one house had passed an impeachment motion against him and it was going to be taken up in the next house. Now, this entire saga has again led to questions on whether the judiciary should be the judge of the judiciary. The government cannot intervene on this, and there's been a growing chorus for reform on the same.
If you like the video, do like, comment, share and subscribe.